Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talking Mental Health with me, Joe. This is episode number 12, and today I'm very honored. We have our first female guest on from the States. How are you, Kate?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, kid. So the reason I asked Kate to come on today was Kate posted a video, what was it, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that?
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, just talking about some stuff that she'd been through, and I wanted to get Kate on just to talk about what she's been struggling with, because I think it's a really important message that she put out there of what she was struggling with and how she's dealing with it. So we'll get to it slowly. But first, I want to ask you, Kate, how's life? Like, what's everything like going on in the States since lockdown started and COVID and all that? Has everything changed for you?
It's a little crazy. It's definitely an adjustment. Things are obviously so different. We wear masks all the time. School's online for like most people, and if you're younger, you go to school maybe like twice a week. No sports for colleges, but high schools do have sports. And now some of the bigger colleges are just starting to come back with their sports teams, but like D3 schools and D2 schools don't have a season. Other than that, just kind of crazy. Like, people are still getting back to work, trying to find new jobs, trying to find people to help kids with their schooling online. So definitely different.
Yeah, and you're in college, aren't you? So it's been a big shift for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a senior in college now, and having been through it for 3 years already, it's definitely an adjustment having everything online.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, I can only relate to what that would be like. I don't know. So just, I mean, we'll just jump straight into it because I think it's, it's good to talk about. So can you just kind of explain a little bit? I referred to the video before. Just give like a really brief summary of what you talked about, and then we'll go into a couple of things a little deeper.
Okay. So I made that video after I was really struggling one day with my body image as an athlete and as a girl. And I know that a lot of girls my age are afraid to talk about stuff like that. And I figured maybe that if I made that video, people would kind of be willing to be more open about it and their struggles. And it doesn't necessarily have to refer to like body image or eating problems. But I made that video to just kind of be vulnerable to people because I thought people had an idea of what was going on with me and my eating struggles and body image struggles. But I don't think anyone really knew the extent of things. So I really opened up in that video about how I did suffer from an eating disorder. I was almost like anorexic at a point. I had a very bad relationship with a lot of foods, and even just eating in general, because I was so afraid of what was going into my body and what was going to happen. And I think it kind of stemmed from my experiences in college with just going out more, partying more, and not really learning how to like find that proper balance. And I wouldn't wish an eating disorder upon anyone, but I'm grateful I went through it. It really put things into perspective for me. And it really made me appreciate a lot and a lot of people. A lot of people responded to the video. They were thanking me for making that video because they feel like now they can talk about their problems. And like, people I haven't talked to in years, and girls from my high school even reached out and said like, oh, like, I appreciate you making this, I'm actually struggling with this, like, do you have any advice? So it was really a success, and I was very nervous to post it, obviously, because my town's a small town and everyone kind of knows everything. So once you put something out there, the whole town's going to know about it. And I was afraid, but I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah, I mean, credit to you. It's a very brave thing to do. And I said that to you right after you posted it. It's like I saw it straight away and I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's Kate talking about? And I haven't seen you for probably, 6 years now, something like that. And, it caught my attention because about a week, maybe 2 weeks before you posted that, somebody else that I used to coach in New Jersey, person you don't know, but posted a very similar video that they were struggling and had been for a while. And I was like, wow, this is a trend. Like, this isn't something that's just popping up every once in a while. This is something that a lot of people are experiencing. You touched on, like with the body image thing, it kind of started for you in college. Was there a specific thing about college, or was there a couple things that kind of, made you start to feel the way that you did?
I think because I was such an athlete in high school, like I was playing a very high level of soccer, I was playing intense all the time, and I didn't really think twice about what I was putting into my body or, foods that kind of made me feel good or like foods that made me feel bad. And I think college really, I was on my own and I had to kind of figure it out for myself. And I had to, like I said, I had to figure out that balance between like going out with friends, going out to eat, like all that stuff. And it got to a point where I actually had to start not caring, but I had to actually start paying a little bit more attention to what I was eating and like consuming constantly because college is always go 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 and you're not thinking twice half the time. You're just like, oh, this sounds good, or like, oh yeah, I'd love to go out this night. And when it's multiple nights a week or it's a lot of weekends back to back, you don't really pick up on the fact that like you're putting all this negative stuff into your body. So I feel like for me, once I saw changes in my body, I kind of started losing my muscle. I definitely saw not gaining a ton of weight, but just more just changes. Like my stomach wasn't as flat, like just stuff like that. It was hard to accept, and it did take a toll on me at one point.
Mm. And were you still playing sports in college? Because I know you played a lot in high school. Did you stop when you got to college?
So in college, I went to Monmouth, and when I was there, I had played for the club soccer team, and then I ended up actually transferring home, and I play for my school now at Ramapo. I play Division 3. So it really kind of happened before that transition happened, right before I transferred last fall, and it had just gotten really bad at a point like towards the winter and stuff. So I knew it was kind of best for me to be home.
Hmm. And was that a big help for you on a personal level, being around, close friends and family, having that support network, even while you could still go to school?
Yes, it definitely was. I mean, my family has had their fair share of issues, but I've gotten very, very close with my brother. And, um, we've both gone through stuff, and he was just by my side through everything. But so were both my parents. They were very worried at a point because I was very, very thin. I even had to seek like treatment. I started talking to a therapist, and like, no shame in that. Like, she's literally amazing. And it's kind of nice when you start talking to someone who's not your family, because they kind of like understand it from a different level. Like they don't know you personally, they just kind of know, like you're allowed to tell them like everything you're going through and there's obviously no judgment. And I think also like playing soccer kind of helped because I had to be like, there was no way that I could have, like I said in the video, played soccer at the level that I do now had I been so skinny and like not giving my body the proper nutrients, the proper fuel, um, in order to play.
Yeah, and I remember you touched on in the video about, one of your biggest assets as a soccer player was the speed that you had. And I remember watching you as a, what, 12, 13, 14-year-old, like growing up and going through the development phases, but you never lost that speed. Whereas you said in the video when, your diet changed and you lost that muscle, your speed just completely disappeared.
Yeah, that was definitely it was not fun. Like it was kind of scary for me because I think a lot of athletes have one special like thing about themselves that they can like point out or that people can pick out and point out. And all my life it's just been my speed, and like that has been a big part of who I am, and I've always loved the competition. And when I found myself feeling weak, feeling unable to, perform my absolute best to beat someone in a race. That competitive nature, that competitive side of me was so disappointed to the point where I had to figure out like what's wrong. Like it was kind of a wake up call, and it was like, hey, like that's one thing about you that you've always excelled. Like one part of soccer that at least I've always excelled in. So it was scary because I was like, if I don't have my speed, like I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you took away your biggest weapon, didn't you? And
Yeah.
was that like a gradual thing you noticed over time, or was it a really quick switch?
To be honest, I really noticed it right away because I was at my lowest weight this past winter, and going into the spring season, we started training, and I was like, I need to be better. I need to do better, and I need to be more like I am a versatile player, but I like being all over the place, and I found myself slowing down at a lot of points and just not able to keep up with the pace that I usually was at.
Hmm.
So that was
Yeah.
scary.
And yeah, I guess that's scary when you kind of you've lost control. You've almost taken it for granted for so long that
Yeah,
you
exactly.
said before you didn't have to worry about what you were eating because that was just always there. And then all of a sudden, your diet changed or whatever you were eating changed, and that muscle's gone, and now your speed's gone. It's like, well, actually, like you said, you needed to figure out, work backwards, what was actually having that knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Did you have to like change? Did you have to go through like a training program or a specific diet to kind of get grow the muscle back and to regain the speed?
Um, so I've always been that very independent. I never want to accept help from people ever. So I did take it upon myself to actually talk to people and find and almost research the best foods and the amount of calories, I guess, and stuff that I should be taking in as an athlete, and how to build muscle. There's certain proteins, there's certain fats and stuff that are in carbs, healthy carbs, that are so good and so important to athletes and just anyone in general.
Mm.
And I was eating in a surplus of calories so that I could grow my muscle. I was weight training rather than just doing, because I was doing just running for the longest time, and that was getting me nowhere. I was still losing weight, so I needed to do something to help me bulk up a little bit. And I started weight training and eating a ton, like a bunch, and that was scary at first because I didn't really know. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna get fat. But it as an athlete, you never see a fat soccer player. You never really see
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then and it really did turn to muscle, and I got lucky. And now I love lifting weights. I never lifted a weight my whole life, and it's
Yeah.
cool. So
And like you mentioned calories there, and then in the video you also mentioned calories. You said at one point, I think you were eating less than 1,000 calories a day, and you were barely functioning.
yeah.
What was that like? When you wake up in the morning, are you thinking I'm just going to eat something, or were you really regimented in I can't eat that because I might look like this, or this might happen to my body? Was that your thought process when you were thinking about eating something?
Yes, there would be times where I would, or it's not even times, it was either this food's bad or this food is good, and I need to eat this in order to stay skinny and healthy. And if I ate this today, I'm just gonna be fat and feel awful about myself the rest of the day. That's not how it should work. That's not how it should work. And when I was doing stuff like that, when I wasn't taking in the proper amount of calories, I was not paying attention much in class. I was very dazed and dizzy and out of it. I don't know how I got through lifting, for soccer. At 6 in the morning, I wouldn't eat anything and I would just power through it. And I noticed myself getting hurt more. I definitely found that I wasn't performing to my best potential. There was girls lifting heavier than I was that were smaller than me. I was like, what the what? So, and I think the morning kind of sets the mood for the rest of the day, by waking up with that negative mindset, oh God, I can't eat, this and this today. My mind, that was my mindset for the rest of the day, was just negative. But now I wake up and I'm like, what's going to make me feel good and fuel me for the rest of the day to take on school, to take on my homework, my classes. And for me, that's just basic meals. And there's no good, bad meals. You can make the most out of everything. Every food is
Hmm.
good. No food is bad.
Yeah, everything in moderation, right? Like as long as you're not eating
Exactly.
sugar every single hour of every single day, and you're eating healthy fats and carbs, like you said before. That yes, some foods are bad for you, but I guess if you're an athlete, you can have a little bit of something. You can burn it off. You don't have to
Exactly.
consistently worry about gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight.
Mhm.
You
It was definitely that.
sorry, go ahead.
It was definitely a lot of just learning about myself and learning to do things in moderation.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's important. I mean, when I was younger, I could eat anything I wanted, and I literally couldn't put on weight if I tried. When I probably till I was like 23, 24, and then all of a sudden I got to like 25, and all of a sudden everything I ate, I could feel it like just adding to different parts of my body. It's like, what is going on? And I never really went to the gym when I was younger because I didn't need to. I didn't feel the need to lose weight, and I guess you've gone through something similar in the sense that you couldn't put weight on, and then all of a sudden you felt like you had too much weight because you were worried about what you were eating.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was just something that a lot of girls and even guys don't like understand like as you get older your body does change,
Mhm.
and you're never going to keep the same high school body that you had. It's not like that anymore. Your metabolism slows down a little bit, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that's important. You said it there as well. It's girls, but it's also guys too. I think now there is a feeling among, especially the younger generation, that they have to look a certain way because of social media or pressure from TV or movies or whatever it may be. Like, was that something that you felt as well from the outside? Like, you had to look a certain way because there was this expectation that as a college student you should look like this.
I think for me personally, having been an athlete my whole life, I was always very muscular, and like my friends, not that they would make fun of me, but they would always like, oh, like you're so muscular, your legs are so big, like you can like, you could beat someone up, Katie, or whatnot. So when I stopped playing sports, I automatically thought like, okay, now I could be skinny, now I could fit into that non-athlete role. Like I could fit into the normal like girly role. I was very skinny. I didn't have to worry about my clothes being too tight. Like, and when you get to college, you're meeting all these new people and you're seeing a bunch of fresh faces, and you're seeing girls that are very skinny or look different than you, and people like you've never met before, and you're like, wow, like I want to look like that. And I think for me, um, like I said, being an athlete my whole life, once I had the opportunity to just be skinny, I took advantage of it, and I really wanted to be that skinny girl that I saw like all over campus, or that I saw on my Instagram page, like girls in a sorority or girls just in general from school.
Yeah. And was that an internal pressure you kind of put on yourself to look that way, or did that come from external sources?
It definitely was an internal pressure, but it also like social media just really like messes with your head. And I think some of the most popular, pretty, well-known girls on any form of social media, like a lot of them you see are very stick figure thin, and it's hard because they get obviously a lot of attention. Everyone kind of wants to be acknowledged and have like attention. So
Mm.
I thought like, oh, if they could do that and I do that, then I'll be fine. Like people will
Mhm.
notice me more.
Yeah. And did that affect you? Because you said again in the video, you said about your body image, your self image. Like, did you look in the mirror, or did you look at yourself on a picture and sort of feel that you didn't look the right way because of someone else thought you should look a different way, or again, did you just kind of in your mind go, yeah, I don't look right, I need to change something?
I think looking at pictures of myself from um like my sophomore year going into my junior year, I did get like a little like heavier, and I wasn't going to the gym, and I didn't have like my priorities straight. It was just more of like go out, party, like go out with my friends, go out to eat constantly, blah blah. And then I got home for the summer, and I had to put a bathing suit on, and I looked in the mirror, and I was just like, whoa, like who is this? Things weren't fitting me right. I was like, clothes were really really tight on me, not because I was muscular, but because I had gotten a little thicker and had more body fat. So I think like once my clothes started fitting, once I actually had to like look at myself in the mirror in a bathing suit, and go out and like talk to other people, like associate with people with like the lack of clothing on, I guess, like in the summertime. That for me was just like a reality check. Like I was like, whoa, Katie, like you gotta change it up. So that's when for me it all started. I started doing like crazy amounts of exercises, crazy like cardio, crazy training. I started limiting like my food intake and then my and like alcohol intake and stuff like that. And it got to a point where I was just limiting myself from everything, and it just mentally took a really big toll on me.
Mm. Because you touched on anxiety and like self confidence in the video as well. Did the anxiety start prior to the the eating disorder, or was it kind of a result of the two marrying themselves together?
I think for me, like I've always suffered from anxiety, but it definitely got worse when I was like kind of dieting and going through that, because I was so afraid to mess up, and I was so afraid that one mistake would dictate my entire process of losing weight. And once you get that mindset, for me, it turned into um like I said, certain foods are good and bad. And if I eat this, I'm gonna mess up everything, and I'm just gonna get fat again. Or I think I'm gonna gain all this weight because I ate one bad meal. But like we said, everything in moderation
Mm.
is the way to go.
Yeah. And the one word that you said in the video that really grabbed my attention was power. Like you said, it just had this power over you. Can you just explain like a little bit what that power was and how it kind of controlled your thoughts or your actions?
Um, so an eating disorder is a very powerful thing because it's very much so fighting demons in your head constantly. It's more of like having this constant battle within yourself and within the eating disorder. So it's like your mind, like my mind was telling me one thing and my body was telling me another. My mind was telling me, you're not hungry. You're not hungry. This food's bad. You can't eat this. And my body was like, Katie, you're starving. Like you haven't eaten all day. You just went and ran 3 miles. You need to put something in your body. And it has this power almost like it made me very, very emotional, like very irritable, very hard to talk to because I was just always worried about fighting fighting with myself. When it came to going out with friends and stuff, like I would want to order a plate of nachos, but my head would be like, absolutely not. That's not good. That's not good for you.
Mm.
So it's definitely, you start to lose yourself. You start to feel like an eating disorder has this sense of like power and control over you. It controlled and it dictated a lot of parts of my life and a lot of my decision makings, a lot of my friendships, relationships. And it's scary because you feel like you're losing yourself. I definitely felt like I lost a part of like not my life, but a part of like my experiences in college just because of the eating disorder in general. It's very impactful. It's so strong in your head that the urge to fight it back sometimes, like you just want to give up. You just want to let it win. And
Mm.
if you do that, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah. And do you remember that moment when you kind of hit, let's say, rock bottom? Was there a point where you just thought, I have to turn a corner here?
Yes, I think for me, it was when I had weighed literally probably 104 pounds. And my ribs were actually like sticking out, like my chest was very thin. Like people started like asking me like, what's wrong? Are you okay? I think like when I was taking pictures with my friends and like even like going to family events and stuff, everyone's like, oh my goodness, like you're so skinny. Are you all right? And I'm sitting there like, I'm fine. Like I thought I looked good. And then you kind of reflect back and you look at the pictures or, you think about just like, what did I eat today? Like, did I even eat? It's kind of like a self-reflection. I think for me, the biggest wake-up call was seeing the number on the scale and hearing my therapist tell me that, if it doesn't go up within the next couple of weeks, like I'm gonna have to like seek higher level of treatment.
Wow. And what was that like hearing something like that?
Um, it was more of just like a shock because, with the eating disorder, you think you look good as skinny as possible. You think you look your absolute best. Like you think, I've never looked this good before. And to everyone else is like, what in the world is going on, Katie? Like, are you okay? Like, I would go out to eat with my friends and like, I would see like pizza and I like I said, the whole control thing, like I'd have a mental breakdown. Like I literally would start crying and like have to excuse myself to go to the bathroom because that's how like deathly afraid I was to eat.
Wow. And what was that like on a personal level? Obviously, seeing pizza or nachos or whatever it was, and having that struggle in your mind, and then having to step away from your friends just to kind of, I guess, recompose yourself. Was that weird for you and for your friends? Because did they? Well, I guess did they know you were going through that, or was it just a case of, oh, Katie's upset about something else, but you kind of just internalized it for a
Yeah,
while?
definitely for a while. I was just making excuses, I guess you could say. I was just always excusing myself, or I would make excuses not to go out. Or if I did have a breakdown, I would find a different reason that it wasn't for eating. It was because I didn't feel good, whatever. But the biggest thing I think was when everyone would order and I wouldn't order anything, or I would order just like a side salad. And my friends really noticed, like my weight had dropped dramatically. Like there was a point where my body just I felt like gave up. Um, I was around like 100 and like 15 pounds, and then I dropped like to 105 like within like 2 weeks. And my body, like you could just see like it was hanging on by a thread. And that is when people really started to notice and ask me like, what's going on? Am I all right? Am I sick? Things like that. So that was definitely that moment when within those 2 weeks where my weight had dropped so dramatically that it was a wake up call.
Mm. And once you had that wake up call, your therapist said you're going to have to make a change quickly, or we're going to have to, seek out some higher treatment. Was that when you sort of opened up to people and started to, I mean, you obviously you heard it from someone else and it was a shock to you, but I guess other people had seen it in you before that point. Did you then feel more open to talking about it with, with your parents, with your brother, with your friends, once you'd hit that point where it was like, right now I have to make a change and I'm aware of it?
I think it was more with my friends at a point. Like my family knew what was going on. My brother didn't know the full extent, but he definitely had an idea because he would make comments to me, and like he's my little brother, but he's like my big brother at the same time. So he's always very protective of me, and like people would actually like say things to him like, Connor, like, is your sister all right? Or to my family, and back to me and be like, oh. And I think like, just that, and then hearing like it from my friends, and then hearing what my therapist said, like all those things together just like came together in my head. So it was, yeah, that was a big, there was a turning point for me. And like once that happened, like it's not easy. Like I said, the healing process is not linear. Like I would have really good days and like have very bad days. Like I would have days where I would eat like phenomenal. And then the next day I would feel awful and I would fight back and I'd have breakdowns. I'd cry to my family and my friends. Um, but at the end of the day, there was no judgment
Mm.
from anyone, especially not my family, because everyone has their fair share of issues, and my family has had their fair share of issues. So at the end of the day, I am very thankful for my friends and my family because I don't think I would have like gotten through it without them.
That's good. That's so important. I mean, I know your family, they're a good family. You've got that really good tight support network around you. I know your high school friends, some of them, I know the girls that played on the team in Pequannock, and I know they're good people. And I know, I feel like I know if you needed them, you could probably go to them and, and have those conversations. And I guess that kind of leads nicely on to the next part, which is, that recovery process, that point of, okay, you need to make the change and you need to get back to, feeling good about yourself. What was that process like? You said it's not linear and it's obviously like a bit of a roller coaster. you
Oh
know
yeah.
just talk me through that process of at least getting started anyway.
Um, so the biggest step for me was just like I said, it was always a struggle in the morning. So the biggest step for me was just trying to, not plan out my day. Like there would be plenty of times where I would plan out like, oh, I'm gonna eat a salad today if I have this. Like everything dictated
Mm.
everything. So it was more of just not allowing anything to dictate anything and just going about my day um as I would. And starting to learn my hunger cues again. That's been a big thing. That's what I'm like I still struggle with sometimes, but it's more of learning like what my body wants, like what foods it wants that make me feel good. Once I started putting different foods back into my body, it had a hard time reacting at first. Like I would get really bad stomach aches. I would get like nauseous. So recovery, it's hard. It's hard. It makes people want to give up. Like there have been plenty of times where I just was like, it wins, like the eating disorder wins again. Like I don't want to do this. Um, but it's also a challenge, and I've always been up for a challenge my whole life. I'm a competitive person, so for me it was challenging the foods that tend to scare me, like ice cream. Like it was like doing little baby steps at a time, like maybe once a week going out for ice cream with my dad, or trying a food that I haven't had in such a long time. And that's not to say that after I did it that I was completely fine. Like there was plenty of times where I was introducing stuff back into my diet and I would automatically just start crying with the fear of weight gain. So there's, like I said, there's good and bad days. There's definitely moments where you want to give up, but at the end of the day, once you beat an eating disorder, like you kind of realize that you're capable of a lot more than you think you are.
Hmm. Yeah, and that competitive nature that's in you definitely helped you get through that, right? You weren't going to lose
Yeah.
to anything.
Hmm.
And now you're on the Dunkin' Donuts too.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
good though. No fear, right? Just go for it.
No.
So, I was going to ask you as well. There was one point. I know we're going back a little bit here. You said about at one point when you were really struggling, like you were seeing black stars, and was that like because you were dizzy and you just didn't have the nutrients in your body to literally just keep you going and
Mhm.
normally?
Yeah, and I think um it got really bad when I got sick in the winter. I had like a flu or a virus or something, and I was actually in the hospital. And they wanted to keep me in the hospital because they're like there's obviously something more going on. Like you're very thin, your levels are a little off. You know, you seem dehydrated. And I was like, no, 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 I'm fine. And it turned out like that is when it all started to take a really bad turn for the worse because my body was literally shutting down. My body was just like so weak. Like I was always cold. And like I would be sitting in, you know, a warm house in the winter, or even it just was becoming spring and it'd be so warm out and I would be freezing. Like I literally had no fat on my body to the point where I was shivering when it was like 70 degrees out. And that was just like, whoa. Like, and I would make excuses like, oh, I'm just cold. Like, I wasn't cold.
Hmm.
I started also losing hair. That's another thing.
Wow.
And that was really scary. Like, I'd be in the shower and like I'd pull out some hair and I'd be like, what is going on? And it got very thin, my hair. And ever since I started eating again, like my hair has gotten like so much thicker and stuff. But that's definitely a side effect of it all.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you mentioned that because food like feeds everything, doesn't it? It feeds your body, but it also feeds your mind. It feeds, the nutrients that are in the food and water and stuff like that. You need it for everything, so many things. And I think that's very underestimated, and people don't realize to a point how
Hmm.
much food actually has an effect, not just on your body, like on your body, yes, but like on the other things like your hair and things like that, your mood, your temperature, everything. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. As a soccer player, obviously, you probably watch a lot of soccer as well. When you look at players, you know, uh, top players in the States, Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, Abby Wambach, people like that, you know, they are like high level athletes, aren't they? But they don't really get promoted as, they're not as famous, quote unquote, for their body shape, for their body type, because like you said before, they're an athlete. Do you think that's something that needs to shift? Is, these high level athletes, they look a certain way because the sports they play or the roles that they have. I'm thinking of like 100-meter sprinters and basketball players and you know women like that. They don't look the same way because they play different sports, they eat different foods, and obviously we're all different anyway. Did you kind of look up to those players, I guess, when you were younger and think I want to be like that?
I think it's learning that you always can't have the best of both worlds. You know, if you love something and you're passionate about it and you're dedicated, with everything comes risk and things that you want to like things come with like the careers you choose and like the path you choose for yourself. So if you want to be a supermodel, you know, like you have to be skinny. But if you want to be an athlete and perform like those women, like I've looked up to them my entire life, love them. Um, and they don't really get, like you said, they're not very well known, like, oh, like, you know, they have insane bodies. No, they're known for performing. They're known for um like playing soccer at like the highest level and being able to, you know, take on women that are just as strong as them, if not stronger. And I think that's something that really needs to be normalized by society, is kind of not normalizing just like not idolizing just those who are very skinny or that have the perfect body, but normalizing just like people for their careers and stuff, like athletes, no, like the people you said and myself, normalizing that they're strong. They are very strong women, and it takes a lot to be a strong woman. It takes a lot to, you know, run up and down a soccer field for 60 minutes straight and to be able to like shoot a ball as hard as they do, or you know, be competitive and like defend what someone like one on one and like have that like mental strength. Like that's another big thing that comes along with it.
Yeah. And as a female, do you want to encourage younger females and females your same age as well and older than you to kind of be more comfortable with who they are? Because that's something you touched on in that video.
Yeah, I definitely for girls of all ages and even guys, you know, you can't pick and choose your body, you can't pick and choose your genetics, but you can pick and choose like the person that you are and like what you want to do with your life and the impact that you have on others and the world. Like those women, Alex Morgan and all of them, they impact this world like so much. So many people look up to them, not because of their body, but because of the person that they are and like the determination that they have and the mindset that they have, and their ability to just accept like who they are and just take what they love and just bring it to like the highest level, and just they don't let anyone's opinions get in the way of what they love. I think that's very important. You know, everyone has different passions, hobbies, but your body doesn't define you, you know. Like what defines you is you, the way that you like can hold a conversation with someone, the way that, you know, you're able to teach someone. Like people look up to those who can teach them and that are role models. They don't look up to the person that's the skinniest person in the room.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah, and that's a very important point, isn't it? You know, I think of the people that I used to look up to when I was younger. I didn't look at the best looking people, or, "Oh, I want to look like that." I looked at me, soccer players. I want to play like him. I want to act like him. I want to be able to speak like him. You know, and that was the things that I took, and I'm sure it's the same for you as well. And I think that's really important. You know, normalizing that everybody is different. You know, we could all eat the same foods and do the exact same things all day, every day, and we still wouldn't look the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one message that kind of does get lost a little bit is, you know, like you said, you are how you are and you look how you look, and you have to try and find a way to be comfortable with that, because you're never going to look like anybody else. And you know, even if you try your hardest, you can't be somebody else. You are you, and that's just how you are, and you know, you can't change that for the want of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So for you now, like what, you know, through this whole sort of journey and this process that you've been through, what's the one thing that you take away from the whole thing is just, wow, I wish I'd have known that prior to the start of it.
um that people don't judge you for your body. You know, no one's really kind of worried about how thin you are or like how muscular you are. You know, people are more worried about the genuine person that you are. And your body just doesn't define you. You're so much more than your body. You are like like God created all of us differently, and all of us have different assets and like parts of us that stand out and that you know, that are special. You know, you get one body, and I think the biggest thing for me is that you have to take care of your body. You are blessed with one body, and you really just have to do what makes your body feel good and listen to it, because your body knows you better than you know, like your body. Like
Hmm.
you really have to just listen to yourself, and you have to just accept yourself. And by learning to accept yourself and loving yourself, it makes loving others easier. And it makes your relationships with others easier, and it makes you appreciate a lot more. Like this whole journey made me appreciate my body, made me appreciate that I am able to go play soccer, that I am able to go out with friends. You know, a lot of people don't put things in perspective, and for me, it really was about putting things in perspective. Life's all about perspective.
Hmm. And you said before about, you know, people look up to those who can teach. You're now in a position where you can teach people because you've been through a process that they may be going through, or they're about to go through, or they're coming out of. Have you had the opportunity to kind of talk to other girls, and I guess guys as well, about your experience and kind of support them a little bit?
Yeah, like I said, like that video did get a lot of attention, and like not negative by any means. There's a lot of girls that I had gone to high school with, or that are even family members who reached out to me because they're afraid to say something. And it's not that they asked for advice, but more of just guidance on how to get through what they were going through, and just how I overcame what I did and what the steps I took to get there. And I told them it's different for everyone. It really is. You know, I was lucky that I healed like very fairly quickly. Um, but like I said, like it's not linear, and for those girls to even reach out was a big step for them. You know, to even acknowledge your own issues, it's just a big step.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's so important. And I get, is it nice now for you to have people reconnect with you, not because of what you went through, but just to have that conversation again, to catch up and, you know, to see it? Because like this, for example, this conversation right now probably wouldn't be happening if you hadn't posted that video, and the video wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been through that thing. So kind of it's nice to just reconnect a little bit with some people too, right?
No, definitely. It's nice to see who cares. It's nice to see who pays attention and who just doesn't judge you for your flaws or things that you've been through. It's definitely nice, and it's like one of the best feelings to know that you're making a difference in someone's life, and using your journey to using that and just using it as power and just making a difference
Mm.
for other people.
Yeah, so important. Well, I guess last thing from me to you, and then from you to whoever's watching this video, what's your message for people out there who are struggling with something, or they feel like they need to open up and talk about something, or they're just internalizing everything. What would you say to those people?
Um, my biggest point of advice would be to just don't be in denial about things, because once you learn to accept them, that is what starts the whole process for change. And don't be afraid to accept help from others, because I never thought I would actually talk to a therapist about my problems. But also don't think the whole world is judging you, because like I said, everyone is going through something, and there's a lot of us that just don't talk about it. And when it goes untalked about, sometimes it results in the worst happening, and it can result in, like, for example, me developing an eating disorder, developing more problems instead of just facing the one problem. So I think my biggest thing is to just kind of be kind to yourself. um, no one is perfect. Nobody is perfect. Everything you see on social media, on TV, on anything in the world, any person in the world, their life is not perfect, and they are not perfect. Everyone has insecurities, has their flaws, but you do have a lot of good to yourself, and you need to be kind to yourself. So I think that's a big thing.
Perfect. Well, that's the best way to end it, I think, right?
Yes.
Kate, thank you so much. Like I said, you're the first female to actually come on and talk to me about stuff that you've been through. So I really appreciate that. I hope a lot of people will see this video and kind of relate to what you've been through, but also, gain some confidence from the fact that you've come out the other end of it a strong person. That, like you were before, you've always been a strong person as long as I've known you. So, for you to go up and down through that journey is amazing. And I think it's great that you're so open and honest about it, because I think people will be able to relate to it and be able to kind of connect with you on something that they may be going through too.
Thank you so much for having me. I was really glad I got to talk about it and
Yeah.
reconnect with you.
You feel good though, right? It feels good to just get it out sometimes, even if you said it
Yeah,
before. It can't hurt. So, Kate, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's
of
really good to
course.
catch up with you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye.